What's going on, YouTube, and welcome back to the channel. First, let me get something out the way. I am not supposed to be here today. I am sick as a dog. I have been feeling terrible. I went to bed last night thinking it was going to be my last night.
I thought it was dead.
But I'm up, I'm awake, I've been resting, supposed to be resting all day, but I really had to talk about something. And it involves Steph Curry, stuff I've seen on TV, so I've seen on the internet, and the discourse that's been going on about him. So for those of you who don't know, tonight is going to be game one of the Lakers and the Warriors, and the Warriors got to the second round matchup by beating the Kings in the game 7. And in that game 7, Steph had a legendary, all-time great game, put up 50 points to go ahead and put the Sacramento Kings away and advance to the second round. And it was a phenomenal game. It was a legendary game by Steph. And after that game, I've seen a lot of things in media. I've seen a lot of things on social media, television, sports analysts, and what have you, talking about not only Steph's performance, which deserves to be talked about at length, but also going beyond that, where Steph ranks all time. And in particular, I've seen people such as Stephen A. Smith, Kendrick Perkins, Snoop Dogg was on TV talking about it, and just people on Twitter saying Steph Curry is the greatest point guard of all time, or they're saying, is it time to have the conversation if Steph is the greatest point guard of all time? And my thoughts on that were, number one, I'm glad we're having this conversation because I felt that Steph's been the greatest point guard to ever live for the past 2-3 years. But not only am I glad that people are getting to that realization, but I thought to myself, I'm a little concerned as to how we got there, right? Because last year when he won the title, making him a 4-time champion, won his finals MVP, was an amazing finals. I believe he put up like 33, 34 a game. I didn't hear any conversations about him being the greatest point guard to ever live. And then this year, Steph by no means had a bad season. It wasn't one of his best, but it was a very good year. Put up 29, 6 and 6. Shot like, 42% from 3 on 11 takes per game. Great year. Excellent year by Stephen Curry. Nobody talked about him being, at that point I didn't hear anybody talking about him being the greatest point guard to ever live. And then you look at, now we fast forward to the playoffs that just happened. He goes into game 7, a do or die, must win, scores 50 points, and they advance. And now I'm hearing the greatest point guard of all time talks. And it's a little odd to me because I'm like, why is that the determining factor in which would have made him the greatest? Like, was he a 50-point performance away from not being considered better than Magic Johnson? Because I think if you look over the course of Steph's career, how he's impacted the game, what his skills are, I don't think he's a top 10 passer, but I do believe Steph is probably, if you want to go top 20-ish, probably one of the 20 best passers to ever live. I think he's one of the 10 greatest scorers to ever play basketball in terms of the efficiency metrics, the volume, the three-point shooting, the range. He's one of the better finishers at the rim in the history of the game, has an excellent handle. And with his playmaking, it's more than just his passing. We all know about his scoring gravity, how when Steph has the basketball, someone's always going to be open because you can't cover him one-on-one or you can't account for him. As soon as he touches half court, he's a threat. So you have everything, his skill set, what he's accomplished: 4-time champion, 2-time MVP, one was the unanimous MVP, greatest three-point shooter of all time, finals MVP, we get all that. But I do find it odd that 50-point game was the one thing that now created the conversation. It's just odd to me that that's how we look at it. Like, it's weird in basketball discourse how we really take this thing from a game to game to game analysis. Like, yes, every single game matters. Every game is a part of it. But I find it hard to believe that Steph scores 50 points in a game 7, and now we're thinking he's the greatest point guard of all time. But if he didn't score those 50 points, we wouldn't say it. As if everything else he did didn't matter towards him being considered the greatest. But those are my thoughts on this whole talks with Stephen Curry. Like I said, I'm glad people are finally hopping onto that boat and believing that Steph is the greatest point guard who's ever lived. but I do find it a bit concerning as to how we got here, how we really take basketball as a one game at a time sort of thing instead of analyzing the entire body of work. Because I honestly believe had Steph lost the game 7 and the Kings advanced and the Warriors lost, Steph had still done enough throughout the entirety of his career to be considered the greatest point guard to ever live, or at least be in the conversation, 50 ball or not. It's great to celebrate his 50 points. It's great to talk about his 50 points, and it is a legendary all-time great performance. But Stephen Curry is a legendary all-time great player, and I believe he had done enough throughout the course of his career to be considered the greatest point guard to ever live. But let me know what y'all think in the comments down below. If you liked the video, if you disliked the video. I know you didn't dislike the video, but not really the most effort I put into a video before, but at the same time, I thought I was on my deathbed last night, so work with me, y'all. But comment down below what you think, if there's a problem in basketball discourse in terms of how we choose to analyze players, or where you think Steph ranks all time, not only as a point guard, but in the history of the game. Till the next time, take care, and I'll see y'all in the next video. I'm going to sleep.